Okay, today we're going to try another project. I don't have a clue how we're going to work out with this, but we're going to try to build a game. I've seen this once before someplace. It's, I think they call it Drop 4. I see plans for like yard ones and whatnot, but I got to try something. So I started looking at it, and I can see that on here I found something on the computer that kind of looks like what I think I want. So we're going to go ahead and just try to manufacture it from that and see if we can improve on it. We'll see how it looks. The computer shows a couple of different ones here. So we're going to go ahead and try to transfer that into some sort of a plan. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all draw it out. I've started the drawings here. It's going to be 6 down, 7 across. That means we're going to have 42 total pucks. Looks like 21 each color. I'm thinking probably someplace around 2.5 inches per round puck to drop in the holes, and we'll have to build some sort of a stand to hold it up. So that's kind of the plan I'm working on, and we'll revise and add to as we go. So the first thing that we're going to do is determine that for the red pucks, I'm going to take a cedar log that I have, and I'm going to put it on the lathe and round it to the 2.5 inches in diameter, and then we'll cut the disc out of that and see how that works. Okay, the first problem I have to overcome is I don't have anything to measure on my lathe the exact 2.5 inches, so all I'm going to do is take a hole saw that's 2.5 inches. I'm going to drill it through the wood, and we'll cut that in half so I can use that as my gauge and see if I can get it as close as I can on all of them. Be easier probably if I had actual right tool, but I think this will work just fine. So that's the plan. Okay, to start out, this is a piece of cedar that I actually already had, and I kind of had it already roughed down a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and play with this a little bit and see exactly what I can do. Is kind of, when I say we'll have to start out with rough log here after this, though. It's been drying for a while. I've got out back. So I do have my piece of wood for the pattern, and we're just going to simply take that and set it on there, and we will trim this down until we get to the point where that just slides over it, and that'll be a good gauge to go on until we get her finished. Okay, so means I don't know any better, I've got to make this the same, of course, from one end to the other. So I've taken that and done it down to the point where my gauge will fit onto it nice and snug there and there. And means I don't know of any other way to do it. I then took my tool that I'm going to use to scrape it down, and I simply use that as a spacer from that to that, and also here, so it's a tight fit. And then what I'll do is just guide it, and if I'm looking at this correctly, as long as I keep my blade right at that, I don't know if that's going to come out clear or not, and follow it across there, I should end up with it fairly even, and should surely be close enough for what I'm going to need for. So we're going to give that a try, see how it works. It's all an experiment. Okay, I've got her all down to the right size. It fits the template, and I've also sanded it so it'll have the edges sanded. Of course, they all have to be sanded after I get it done up, but for now, that's a good start. We'll take that one off, and I don't know, we might try to find another piece of the log sitting down here and see if we can make a couple more of them, and just repeat that until we're done and get enough of those, and then we'll find another piece of wood to do the other color. Okay, so we're going to set this up and cut us some wafers, and I've set it up to a little bit less than 1/2 inch on the saw, and that's going to allow me to put probably 1/2 inch wafers in or spacers in there when we go to actually set the game up. So we do want them to be a little less than that, And this piece of wood started out about 15 inches. We're taking half. That should be enough to do approximately the 21 we need. But we'll see. We'll cut them up and see if we do need more of it. But that's the wafers. And that should give us the indication of the red. We'll go from there. All right, I've got the little disc all done on the one color. We're still working on the other. I'm going to do those out of just a 2x4 just to give it the other color. I've glued the two 2x4s together. We'll round those off, and that's the only thing I had that was actually a different color. So I'd like to have had just a regular log to do that, but I don't have anything else other than the cedar. So we're going to go ahead, and I had some, these are some old pickets actually from a crib. We're going to use those for spacer. They're just a little bit taller than what my discs are, and we've kind of measured that out to where we'll put a piece of plywood over the top of it. I've got a piece here, and it's ending up, it's about 28¼ inches from the one side to the other, and I think we're about 20 inches tall, which gives us plenty here, and we'll trim it off after we get done, because we'll have to drill holes, of course, through the paneling, sand it, and round them out a little bit, and mark those out. So that's kind of my thinking as far as the framework goes. We'll just kind of follow along, see how it works out from here, and we'll turn the other board down and get the rest of the pucks in here. Should be good. Okay, the next part of this, I just decided I just went in and cut some little spacers. We're kind of working through this. So they're the size of the puck, just slightly larger than, so it kind of gives me my layout. And just place them in there where they're going to go. And then I come back and I pick one and I put a little hole in the middle of it. And I simply put my pencil in there and mark the center of each of these. And then I know now the dimension between there with these slats and everything the way they are. So we're going to go ahead and take all this back off and grid it off so that these will be right, and I'll go ahead and drill all the holes in the plywood. Okay, so we now have screwed these together to make sure that they stayed exactly the same, and we drilled all the holes. Man, that's a lot of holes. And so we'll unscrew those, kind of sand it down a little bit, and then start working on putting the slats in between them and build the rest of the frame. So I think we'll be ready to go. Okay, so I took my two 2x4s and we put them on the lathe and got them cut down and made a log out of it. And of course it was longer than I actually needed. So then I went ahead and cut them up. So now we have two piles of pucks, sanded them down, got them ready to go. We're going to finish them off. I think they look distinctly enough difference that they'll work. Of course, this is not the easiest way to do this. Probably would be better off if you want to make the easy way, just take a piece of plywood or something and cut them, but I kind of like the uniqueness of the end grain. So that's all. But you could take a hole saw and just cut that size pucks out of them. And then I've also got the basic board is together. I have glued the strips in the middle of it with a little bit of glue, and then we put just little staples along the edges to kind of hold that together while everything dried. And it's pretty well dried, so really the next phase of this will be to cut it down. But as you see, as you place these in, they will slide right on through, and of course they'll have a bottom put on eventually to stop them from doing that. But that's the basic layout. We'll get them sanded down a little bit more and square that off, and we should be in good shape to finish her off. Okay, the updated status would be that we've got this now trimmed to size, and have mainly just spent a lot of time at sanding, but I think it's starting to look like something. Like I say, mostly that. Now the next stage is going to be to try to build some sort of a stand to hold it upright, and to block off the bottom so that the little chutes don't just go straight on through, and yet you can empty it back out. So we'll see if that works. And then over on the other table here, I've got all my little pucks are covered with polyurethane and getting the finish put on them. This is actually 2 coats, so we're letting those dry. And I don't know, I think that probably if I'd just cut them out of a piece of plywood and painted them, it'd been a whole lot easier than what I'm going through. But yeah, it's a little bit of character to it, so we're going to go with it and see how it all ends up. That's the update for right here. Okay, I think we're starting to get some progress here. We're starting to see what my vision is. It's kind of clamped together just to make sure it's going to work. I think it's going to do just fine. We'll set it up, and we can. Plan is that these will go in, stop where they belong, and then when we get done, we should be able to just pull this little bottom board over, and they drop out and collect themselves into the bottom tray. So I think that's probably going to work. We just now got to go through and paint and get it set up the rest of the way and nail her together and glue her together and do what we're going to do. Okay, we've got the project set up. We've been able to get it painted. We'll give you a little bit closer look at some of the things we did to it. So we're basically, as the wife has pointed out to me already, we kind of made a mistake because, as you recall, I was supposed to be 7 wide, and somehow I ended up going 8 wide and 6 tall. Not that that really makes a big difference, I don't think, but anyways. So all my pucks have been collected into the bottom, and a little closer up detail of the parts and pieces, and then I'll add the drawings here in a minute of what I did. So you basically will have your leg with your just a little design to it. It's got another piece of board added between there that goes up and holds this together, gives that a little bit more structure to it, and then your basic leg is coming from here all the way to the top. And if we get up on the top, we'll tip this over a little bit so you can see it. Simply cut a hole out to line up with the slots in the top, so that would match up. And then in the bottom, the pucks are there. The way the groove works out on this is the, like I say, you can see it just simply slides back and forth. It's really nothing too fancy about it, but it does allow for the pucks to drop in from the top and stop where they need to and fill them on up. And like I say, when you get done, you can move that out of the way and it drops them back into their container. So overall, we've had actually a couple of pretty good games with it already. We had a pretty good little pool party out here yesterday, and all the children were playing with it and having a good time. So I think it's going to work out really well. So I'll go ahead and see if we can add a picture at the end of this video to give the dimensions. Now I did subtract really the holes on there, whether you wanted 8 across or 7 across. I think, like I say, is the standard on it. I don't know, so it really makes a big difference. I'll kind of give the dimensions on that. I took a couple inches off of mine for actually 7 across instead of the 8. But you can kind of calculate that depending on the size disc you do and that type of thing. So, but that's the basic program. There's the project. Fun little build, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun out here to use.